Hello, welcome to the last video of my Worlds run in the championships of 2023. It took a little while because I was sick. I have work. There was GoFest, all that kind of excuses. But now I have the final video on mostly the first loss that I had on stream against ElChe, and then a little bit less about my loss against Roy because it was not on stream. Let's take a look right away at this matchup. ElChe was the notorious 5 Pokemon player in the tournament, the pride of LATAM. He was the only LATAM player remaining in the top 32. He had 5 Pokemon because something went wrong with the registration of his Umbreon. Extremely fortunate for his opponent because it made his team very vulnerable to Alolan Sandslash. Unfortunately for me, I didn't have one of those on my team. I wouldn't say my team composition was bad, however. Venusaur for one would beat 3 out of his 5 very hard. I've also seen him play against Valiant Fish before, and this is where I've made my first mistake. The approach to this battle. My approach was to counter his Galarian Stunfisk. I felt like this is the Pokemon he would bring the most, as it has a lot of good neutral play. If he's afraid of my Venusaur, which he likely is, this would probably be paired with the Noctowl. Thus, my team was quite easy to form for game 1. I run a team ABB weak to Medicham, with all 3 Pokemon having decent play against his Stunfisk. However, instead of Charizard or Venusaur, I use my own Medicham because it absorbs damage much better. Game number 1, I lead my Medicham into his Medicham, which is very fine for me because I'm double weak to this in the back. I just need to get rid of his Medicham, so I'm going to shield that first Psychic. He does win the charge attack priority. It is what it is. I'm just going to shield up right away and throw my own Psychic. I feel very comfortable here because a Medicham lead would very likely be paired with something like his Noctowl, which I'm very strong against in the back, right? Because a Medicham lead would otherwise be incredibly risky into my potentially Venusaur lead. And this is where I kind of get disrupted in my play. ElChe notices right away as well that I'm losing counters. I believe I'm 2 counters behind now, which means I won't be able to get to my last Psychic here. Gonna wait a turn here, and you see that ElChe was just about to try and catch on his Azumarill, which I find even more risky because what if I did have that Venusaur after all? We make the simultaneous swap, which is... I'm very surprised about this that he does this. He's trying to save that Medicham. I don't know exactly why, but this is just incredibly bad for me. It's honestly not the worst matchup for Galarian Stunfisk, but I'm a shield down and I barely lose his matchup, so... not great. He also has a Psychic stored on that Medicham, which I don't really want to absorb on my own. And at this point, it just has to be Noctowl in the back, right? It has to be. Otherwise, it would be too weak to my Venusaur. On top of that, I must say I also completely overlooked the Azumarill here. I don't know how or why. Good timing from ElChe here, as expected, really. I mean, he gets this far with 5 Pokemon for a reason why, right? And I'm gonna go for a big farm down on that Dunsparce, which is a massive farm down. He's going to save that energy, however, and swaps into his Galarian Stunfisk. And it really sucks that he still has that shield, because I wasn't able to throw my Psychic into his Medicham. He never really was forced to. Drone coming in is super effective, but 2 of them don't KO. And now he does shield this. But what do? He still has a Psychic on his Medicham. I can swap into my own. However, it's just not working because then I get KO'd by his Earthquake. Now I kind of have to swap, I guess. I don't know. At this point, it just looks very dire. I'm gonna throw the Drill here, but if he's 1 Mudshot off the Earthquake, so really no matter what I do here, it's kind of over. He also has that Psychic stored, right? And I don't get the KO with that last counter there. He barely gets that Earthquake, which will KO my Medicham. And is basically a very hard game over. He has a Psychic stored. My Dunsparce has no play at all in this matchup. I think basically not just the game, but also my strategy was to blame here. And ElChe, he does really recognize immediately that there was lag. I disputed game number 1 because I felt like my play was very forced due to missing out on counters in the lead. And ElChe was very sportsmanlike. Before the judge even looked further into it, he agreed to a rematch. Looking back at this now, I'm not sure it would have mattered a lot. I still stand by my point that if I didn't need to swap, I would have had much more momentum with my Stunfisk and Dunsparce in the back. But truthfully, I completely overlooked the Azumarill. Looking at how much energy and advantage he had in the battle, I think the judges wouldn't have given a rematch. In fact, I wouldn't have given a rematch if I was a judge. It's hard to say in these scenarios, and in the moment I was just incredibly upset that these kind of inconsistencies happen at a world championship. Game number 2. I was a little bit woken up by a Azumarill. Surely he would expect me to bring Venusaur now. He has to bring the Noctowl. I decide to go with a team that's ABA weak to Noctowl. But Medicham is better in the lead than the Venusaur is. Game number 2, I lead my Medicham again. But he leads Azumarill, and this is mind-blowing to me. Like, he already was so weak to Venusaur in the lead, and he goes even weaker to it right now. I don't expect Noctowl per se with this in the back, but we'll get to that point later, because there's something that I also entirely missed in this matchup. I catch his player off on my Galarian Stunfisk, which I guess is somewhat of a good play, because this is resisted and, you know, gives my Medicham some momentum later. But this also gives him the chance to farm me down, which is, you know, not ideal. I still have my Medicham, however, which is useful for his Galarian Stunfisk later, and I can build up energy for against his Azumarill, which might be needed. He throws right before my next Earthquake. I expect so, to be honest, from ElChe, because, you know, good players count. Don't want to get hit by another Earthquake there. Going back into my own Medicham. This is where I already play a little bit sloppy. I wouldn't say sloppy per se. I'm not making big mistakes, but I could play more perfect here, because you see that I could farm up much more before his next Psychic, because an Ice Punch is not threatening me, right? So a little bit of a I think could have just been more consistent. And with a few more counters, Ice Punch would have killed as well. Going to my Venusaur now. This is somewhat good. I am definitely hoping for a Galarian Stunfisk at this point. But even that is so-so. Even that is so-so. Because I believe Galarian Stunfisk wins the one shield just straight Earthquake. I have a slight energy advantage, so that does help. But yeah, we'll see how this game goes, because I did not play anything in this game well. I should throw my Frenzy here right away to leave the shield decision up to him. If he would no shield, I could let it go and farm down with my Medicham. Instead, I farm up, and I'm the one having to decide the shield. So that's another mistake, a sloppy play that I make here. Frenzy comes through, and he lets it go. He knows I cannot farm him down before he gets to this Rock Slide here. I do throw the Frenzy, however, immediately this time to force that shield, which I guess is a good play by me, but now I'm going to make a massive mistake. I swap in my Medicham right away, and you'll see why this is a massive mistake. It gives him the opportunity to undercharge this and then get an energy advantage on the Azumarill. If I just let my Venusaur go down, he would not have any of that energy advantage. Plus, I would outpace him with my Medicham on that Azumarill. So that's a huge throw by myself. Just a very sloppy play. And, you know, giving a good player like ElChe the opportunity to, you know, win that battle, yeah, that's on me. Now, what I meant with that I missed an important part of the matchup here is that I didn't think about his perspective on what to lead and what to run in the back. This whole matchup, I completely neglected my Lantern. My strategy was countering Stunfisk, and Lantern was not part of my strategy at all. But it's there. It's there on my team. So leading his Azumarill and then having Noctowl in the back would be a suicide mission against my Lantern. An embarrassment. And Lantern honestly wasn't even bad into his team, because ElChe only had one real answer for it. We've been sitting for a while on the back of the stage waiting to battle, and I had plenty of time to think this through. This was a major flaw on my part. Did I realize any of this during my games? No, not at all. This was all hindsight analysis. But after basically 2 games lost in a row, I didn't know exactly how to tackle this problem. I need my Venusaur on the Azumarill or Medicham on even shields, even energy. But how can I do this reliably? I end up making the best line that I can. Like, no kidding, really the best. But let's see how I play it. Game number 3. I lead my Charizard into his Galarian Stunfisk, which is not an ideal matchup. I need to land 2 baits to win this in 2 shields. But I play this bad from the beginning, because I'm playing some sort of ABB strategy against Noctowl. I basically need to swap out immediately into my Medicham. And now I'm staying in play, using my shields that I kind of need for Venusaur later. This is just bad. He calls my Dragon Claw here. Honestly, I wouldn't even say this is a bad play per se. And this is a good play though on my end. I notice that he often waits a turn before throwing a move, so I wait a turn as well, then swap into my Medicham because I notice these kind of things. Then bait out the Noctowl. This is god tier play. This is how you're supposed to play it. However, because I ruined the start, I'm down a shield. I have some energy on Charizard that might help me. But it's not ideal. It's not ideal. This is how I was supposed to do it, right? Catch a move, or maybe not even catch a move. Just get that Noctowl out of the way. Yeah, this is just bad. He already has another Sky attack here. I cannot bring my Venusaur in, obviously. I need to bring in my Charizard, but I'm already a shield down. I'm lucky he over farms here, but then I throw a Dragon Claw. This is just bad play. I just don't know what I'm doing anymore. I'm lucky he shields this. I guess that makes sense because he would expect me to throw a Blast Burn here, right? Why would I throw a Dragon Claw here? But I wasn't sure what I was doing, so I guess that worked out well for me. He swaps in the Galarian Stunfisk immediately, which is a very smart play, simply because my Medicham is gone, and that's my only hard answer to the Galarian Stunfisk. So a very good play by ElChe. He shields my Blast Burn correctly this time. I tried to catch another Rock Slide unsuccessfully, and now I have to call a Rock Slide or another. Actually, my bad. I'm already out of shields. This is gonna do a lot, and this is still bad because if I KO the Galarian Stunfisk, whatever's in the back gets farm on me, and then KOs my Charizard. But I also cannot let him get too much farm, so I throw the Frenzy Plant eventually before he can Mudshot me down. I get the KO that I didn't want. I'm pretty sure that it was gonna be the Medicham in the back, so I didn't feel exactly lost entirely here, but he does get that energy advantage that I didn't want him to give. And this is a remarkable play, because basically if he throws Ice Punch, he just wing attacks me down, and because I'm so thrown off by it, I basically tried to throw in a Psychic CMP, not thinking too much about an ElChe, being the god player he is, catches my move. This is basically just a demonstration of how good or how much he was into my head, basically. This was not necessary at all, but, you know, he was so confident playing so well that he did, and well played to him. All the great plays, teams, and reads that I made in the previous games, only so little of it was in this matchup. I can't express enough how frustrated I was with myself. Usually I at least get my games close, and this felt like I was completely obliterated. I couldn't figure out his Medicham and Stunfisk core. He took risks that I didn't expect, and even if so, I should have brought stronger team compositions based on better team reads that would have given me a better shot. It is what it is. Unfortunately, I'm bringing all this negativity with me into the next matchup against Roy from South Korea. One of the things that just went wrong there is that I didn't stick to the plan. And you might have some of these moments that you're like, okay, I should just do what I always do. I should do what I planned to do, and then it's all fine. And that's basically what happened there. Why did I think that team was so good? It's basically because if I lead my Charizard into the Galarian Stunfisk, I can swap into Medicham immediately, bait out Noctowl, free up Venusaur. Is the 100% win? Absolutely not. But there's a strategy. I didn't do it though. If I would have led into Azumarill with Charizard, I swap into Venusaur because there's a very small chance that it would have Noctowl in the back with the Azumarill lead. It would be super weak to my potential Lantern lead, right? So then Venusaur against Galarian Stunfisk, likely his best answer with an energy deficit. That's gonna go very wrong. The next matchup against Roy, I'm actually just going to skip it completely. I'm just going to just show the team and talk a little bit, like 1 or 2 minutes about that. But there wasn't really much interesting about it, and I was just super out of my mind, very frustrated going into that battle. Obviously, Roy played very well, nothing bad to him or anything, but I don't think the matchup was super interesting to talk about, and it's unfortunately I don't have any recordings even. Let's take a look at these teams here. So these are the teams. Roy is actually one of the very few players without a Medicham. I think there was like 85% Medichams in the tournament. And he has a Kanto Ninetales instead, which is not super threatening. He does have a regular Swampert though, which is kind of annoying, because if that wasn't there, my Dunsparce was basically almost unchecked. Registeel is somewhat of an answer. It puts up a good fight against Dunsparce, wins barely. But I basically can always neglect the Registeel because my Medicham and the Charizard. I also really like Lantern, but it's difficult to bring because Roy uses his trusted Altaria Swampert core, and that's why it's so difficult to use both Dunsparce and Lantern. I just ended up using Venusaur over and over. I can just tell you, I can just be honest with you, Venusaur worked very well in my Worlds battles because of the pressure it has, but it's not good. It really is not. It's so clunky when behind on energy against something neutral like the Sableye, like Registeel, like Medicham. Those become just slightly worse matchups when you're behind on energy. when you're up energy, it's great. But with Venusaur, you kind of always need switch advantage, especially when opponents have flyers like Altaria or even fire types like Cantonite. So that basically was this game. I don't think it's super interesting because I basically need to align my Dunsparce well, have my Charizard in the right place and my Lantern in the right place. Maybe Medicham. Yeah, that's just how this went. In game 2 and 3, my Venusaur was on Altaria and Cantonite, and I top left it. Yeah, so that was that. So yeah, it took a week for me to make this series about my World Run. Only six battles. Hopefully I can find more time to make more videos, but we'll see. Life is a little bit busy. But I am excited for the next Play Pokemon season. I tend to compete and just still kind of make it my main content. Also add in some Go Battle League. I hope you liked this series, this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, in the next